29 minus 4 and 37 hundredths plus a negative 5 and 68 hundredths. I'm just going to go left to right. So I'm going to take 29 minus 4 and 37 hundredths. When I do that, you are lining up your decimals. If I'm doing that, I have to add 2 zeros to the top because I can't just bring down the 37. So now it's just subtracting and knowing that you need to borrow. The 9 becomes an 8. The 0 becomes a 10, the 10 becomes a 9, and the 0 becomes a 10. Now I can take 10 minus 7, which is
3.
9 minus 3, which is
6.
bring down the decimal. 8 minus 4 is
4.
and then bring down the 2. Then it's a plus a negative. If it's plus a negative 5.68, one of them is positive and one of them is negative. So the rule of integers means we're just going to
Subtract.
Excellent. Can I take 3 minus 8?
No.
6 becomes a 5, the 3 becomes a 13. 13 minus 8 is
5.
and I can't take 5 minus 6, so the 4 becomes a 3, and this 5 becomes a 15. 15 minus 6 is? Bring down the decimal. Can I take 3 minus 5?
No.
So the 2 becomes a 1, and the 3 is now a 13, and 13 minus 5 is?
8.
And 1 minus nothing is? Take the sign of the bigger number, which was 23, so this is going to stay positive. How many of you got it right? Awesome. Awesome. You guys are going to do great on your test today.
I think that
Let me show
deserves
you another way that you could have done this. You do not have to write this. You at least wrote the first way. So I'm going to set it up just like they wrote it. When you're dealing with integers, a subtraction is also like a negative. So what I can do is I can combine my negative 4.37 and my negative 5.68. So I would just add them. If they're both negative, I'm going to add 4 and 37 hundredths, 5 and 68 hundredths, keeping the negative signs. I am adding them. 7 plus 8 is 15, so I leave the 5, carry the 1. 1 plus 3 is 4, 4 plus 6 is 10, so leave the 0, carry the 1. Don't skip past your decimal. 1 plus 4 is 5, 5 plus 5 is 10. So now I have a negative 10. So these two combine to be a negative 10.05. If I bring down the 29, isn't it just like saying 29 minus this?
Yep.
Because remember, negative and minuses are the same. So I'm going to have 29 minus 10.05. Line up the decimals. I cannot take a 0 minus 5. Can't borrow from the 0, so I got to come over in here and borrow from the 9. That becomes an 8. 10 becomes a 9. 0 becomes a 10. 10 minus 5 is 5. 9 minus 0 is 9. Bring down my decimal. 8 minus 0 is 8, and 2 minus 1 is 1. Look at that. Same answer. So you can do it both ways.
We're still doing the problem?
Number 2. It says a recipe needs 5/4 of a cup of sugar. You're going to triple the recipe. How much sugar do you need? If I'm tripling, I am doing what? Timesing it by
3.
by 3. Because try means 3. So 5/4 times 3 over 1. So I just do 5 times 3 is 15. 4 times 1 is 4. Divide 15 divided by 4. 4 goes into 15
3 times.
3 times with 3 left over, so it's 3 and 3/4. So my answer is 3 and 3/4. Some of you, I hope, are at this point, just to this point. Like you can do it in your head. You can show from here to here in your head. That is just fine. Number 3. When it says to evaluate, you're just solving. 2/5. Oh, how many of you got number 2 right?
Oh, my.
Okay, 2/5 plus 2/5 plus 11 times the quantity 10 minus a negative 3. Do what's in parentheses, so this is just 11 and 2/5. This is an integer problem like you're gonna see today. 10 minus becomes a plus, negative becomes a, because it's keep, change, change. So 10 plus 3 is 13, and we are multiplying, so I need to multiply 11 and 2/5 times 13, which is gonna go over 1. What do I need to do with my mixed number?
Multiply the denominator by the whole number plus the
Because we're making it an improper fraction.
top number.
11 times 5 is 55, plus 2 makes, so I have 57 over 5 times 13 over 1. Now, you're gonna love me later, because I'm gonna say, okay, at this point, you could use a calculator.
Yay.
As long as you're showing step 1, step 2, step 3, because I wanna take 57 times 13. If I do that on my calculator, I get 741.
Whoa.
Then I do 5 times 1 and I get 5. But I am writing it down what my answers are. Do you guys understand that? You use a calculator, but also show every single step. Now I take 741 and I divide it by 5. Once I do that, I get 148.2. Or you could have kept it 148 and
2/5.
2/5. All right, number 4. It should be 2/5.
Yeah.
Oh, never mind.
No.
It should-
Wouldn't it be easier just to turn 2/5 to a decimal?
Here, when
Yeah.
you started, did you change that to a decimal?
Yeah.
You can, yes, you can do that. Either way, it's fine. Good question, Calden?
I got that one wrong, but I don't know what I did.
Okay, well, we'll have to get back, I'll have to get back to you individually, okay, bud? And then I can take a better look at it.
I got it right.
Number 4, where are we at?
The cookies one.
Cookies, John's teacher wants to buy giant cookies for the entire class. If cookies cost $2.40 each, write an equation that shows how much, or how many can be bought with $40. So I cannot get any more than $40. That's my total amount. So I have my $40 to spend equals, it's $2.40 times each cookie. I could have switched it around and said $2.40 times X equals $40. I do not have to solve for X. All I had to do was write my equation.
Whoops.
Number 5, we have 16 plus the quantity 22 plus A equals 16 plus the quantity A plus 22. What property is being used? Anybody?
Commutative.
Commutative.
Tentative.
Because we switched the order. So we started with 22 here, but we started with A here. So remember when we were first learning about properties and I said, hey, just because you see parentheses does not mean it's associative.
Yeah.
So I see parentheses, but it's not associative. To make it associative, I would have had to have done this. I will show you. Our first set were here, and I'd have to change it to maybe over there. Then that would be associative. 6. Alright, these are where we're getting really, really tricky. So you need to carefully write down what I'm writing down every step of the way, boxing, underlining, anything that I'm doing, and I'm going to color code this.
Can you bring this up a little bit?
Sure
Are we going to
can.
have this kind on our test?
Yes.
It's supposed to be a minus sign instead of a plus sign between the two X.
Oh, cause I skipped down and I went to do number 7. So 2x, thank you, Derek. Trying to get ahead of myself.
Good thing my pen is erasable.
2x minus.
Cheater.
And that should even be a minus. I just wrote the whole problem number 7. I guess I could've left it. 2x minus 5 times the quantity. 2x minus 7y plus 3 plus a negative 8. Alright,
Alright, now we're gonna fix it.
now we're ready to roll. First thing you need to do is the distributive property with the 5 right outside the parentheses. I'm going to circle and you're gonna circle. Even though that looks like it's a minus 5, we're gonna consider that minus a negative. Because remember, subtraction is the same as having a negative because you're still going backwards on the number line. So I'm gonna distribute it amongst in here. So a negative 5 times a positive 2 would be a
Negative.
negative 10, excellent. And keep the x. A negative 5 times a negative 7.
No, 35.
It's just a positive because a negative times a negative makes it positive 35y. Now a negative 5 times a positive 3
Negative 15.
makes it a negative 15 because a negative times a positive is a negative, and 5 times 3 is 15. Bring down what I didn't use. So 2x minus all this plus a negative 8. Now, combine what I have alike. I have my x's. Combine means to add. So I have a positive 2 and a negative 10. What's a positive 2 and a negative 10?
8.
Negative 8x. Do I have anything that can go with my y?
No.
Nope, so I just bring down the plus 35y. Then I have a negative 15 plus a negative 8, which would be what? Negative, what's 15 plus 8? 23. But I could also have written it as a negative 8x plus 35y plus a negative 23. Because isn't a subtraction problem the same as adding a negative?
Yes.
So you need to learn that you can see it both ways. Alright, number 7. Let's see if I can copy it right this time, since I wanted it earlier. 2x plus 5x minus 11 equals a negative 46. Now because this has an equal sign and something on the other side, we have to solve for x. So I'm going to put a line down the center. Before I get started, I see that I have a 2x and a 5x. I need to combine those. What's 2x plus 5x?
7x.
7x. So I have 7x. And then just bring down everything else that you have. Minus 11 equals a negative 46. I want my 7x to stay put, so I'm going to put a box around it. How do I move my 11 then? Add, excellent. Add 11 to both sides. So if one's negative and one's positive, I'm going to subtract. So what's 46 minus 11?
35.
And that stays
Negative.
negative. Bring down what I boxed up. So I have 7x equals a negative 35.
We need to divide by 7.
I want my x to stay put. So I'm going to divide by
7.
7, divide by 7. So now x equals 35 divided by 7 is 5, but 1 is negative, so it has to say negative.
Yay!
Number 8. 2m minus 3 minus 5 equals negative m plus 10. There's my equal sign, so I'm gonna put my line there right through it. Different from this problem in number 7 is I have m on both sides. So we have to get get the m across to over here on the right, or this m over here to the left. But before I do that, I know I can combine these two whole numbers. A negative 3 and a negative 5 becomes a
Negative 8.
-8. So bring down what I haven't used. 2m minus 8 equals a negative, this is like 1m plus 10. Alright, now, I can either move the 8 over here, or I can move the 10 over, or the 2m over here. It does not matter. As long as when you cross that line that you drew down, you're doing the opposite. Okay? I want to move what I've already been working with. I'm gonna move the 8, because I don't like working with negatives. So because it's a subtraction, what's the opposite that I'm going to do? So I'm gonna add 8, add 8. The reason why I don't like working with negatives is because I forget the negative sign sometimes. So I'm gonna cross those out because those did that. Bring down the 2m because that's all that I'm left with over here now. Equals negative m plus what? What? 10 plus 8 is 18. Okay? Now, I need to get this m over to this direction. To move this negative m over that line, this is like a negative, and what's the opposite of a negative?
Positive.
Positive, so I'm going to add m, add m. Remember I said it's like saying 1m, so if I would put a 1 there, what's 2 plus 1?
3.
So I've got 3m equals, those canceled each other out, 18. Now, how do I get m alone now? Box it up.
And divide by 3.
Divide by 3, divide by 3, and m equals
6.
6.
Yay!
Lots and lots of steps.
Lots of
For these steps, go ahead and